The truth is that Labor's industrial relations policies are moving in exactly the wrong direction. I mean, you know, the Reserve Bank Governor and others have been very clear on that. Productivity Commission, let's see what happens to the Productivity Commission now, but they've been very clear that more flexible industrial relations will put downward pressure on inflation and drive higher real wages, which we all want to see. But Jim Chalmers doesn't like that advice from the Productivity Commission. Indeed, he has made a point of not even taking a briefing, nor is the Prime Minister, from the previous Productivity Commissioner on their landmark 5-yearly review. So this is a Treasurer and a Labor government that talks the talk. It doesn't walk the walk.
Angus, a lot of the inflation that we're seeing is from the supply side. Rents at their highest level since 2009. They're not things that the Reserve Bank can change with its interest rate rise. What does the government need to be doing to get inflation down on the first supply side?
Well, I think there's supply side and demand side issues that the government can be dealing with. I mean, the truth is, we've learned through history, if you leave the entire job to the Reserve Bank, it's painful. I mean, the pain we saw, and I personally experienced, I'm old enough to remember that through the 70s and the 80s, was a result of central banks playing the central role. And that's a very painful process. That's why ultimately what was learned through that experience is you've got to get your policy in other areas right. Your industrial relations policies, your energy policies, your productivity focus, a productivity commission that's focused on productivity. You need all of those things if you're going to fight this. And we see the government going in the opposite direction. It doesn't like the advice it gets on these issues, whether it's from Philip Lowe or from the Productivity Commission. This is not advice the government likes, and when it doesn't like the advice, it doesn't listen to it.
Taylor, if I could ask you a question on a topic that's been in the news this week.
Can we just finish? Let's just finish off on the inflation stuff if we can first. Thanks. Yeah. Have it take it.
The easing of today's figures, does that not show that the government's monetary policy and the actions of the RBA are actually working?
Well, there's no question it's slowing the economy. I mean, no question at all. We're down to a GDP per capita that's negative. We've seen in the last quarterly national account figures, and that's a lot of pain. That's a lot of pain. And we're seeing productivity that's going sharply backwards, and we saw an 11% gain in productivity in our time in government. Almost half of that has been lost in the last 12 months. This is Labor productivity, and that is, I know, setting off alarm bells with the Reserve Bank, because Phil Lowe said that in a speech he gave a number of weeks ago. So, I mean, that's the truth of the situation we are facing here. And meanwhile, we see a Treasurer who wants to change the agenda of the Productivity Commission away from productivity. Well, you'd want to do that when your productivity is in a hole. And this is, you know, Australians pay the price for this. Real wages are going backwards, not forwards. Inflation is going up fast. Prices are going up faster than wages. And that's how Australians measure how they're feeling as they get around every day. Now, you've got a Prime Minister that likes to tell everybody they've never had it so good. That's not what I see on the ground.
The government's going to need your support to amend the Reserve Bank Act later this year. Are there any particular legislative elements of the review that you have any concerns about or you'd like to see implemented differently as being proposed?
Yeah, well, we haven't seen the legislation yet, so I can't really comment until we've seen it. Yeah, we want to have a strong, independent, credible, capable Reserve Bank. It's hugely important. It's not the whole answer. Inflation comes from Canberra in the end. And so the government has a crucial role to play in this, but we do need a strong and effective Reserve Bank. And I've shown a willingness to work with the government on Reserve Bank related issues. We remain concerned about their approach to appointments. There was 2 initial appointments. I expressed concerns at the time about the process they had gone through. We're delighted that we've seen the appointment of Michelle Bullock, but there's a long way to go in all of this. So we'll work with the government as long as they stay true to that basic principle that I've outlined.
So on those appointments, would you prefer to see Alana Rubin and Ian Ross put on the governance board then instead of the...
Well, you know, I'll start with a very simple starting point, which is that the review laid out a process for appointments and that was not followed. Pretty simple. And those first 2 appointments, it was not followed. So they should follow.